Weekly Shonen Jump is the home to a lot of interesting and unique series that all loosely follow a pseudo-guideline that seems to be established since before the dawn of time. This guideline can also be referred to as the Weekly Shonen Jump formula, as a lot of people like to call it. Probably not that deep, as the formula is based upon the continued success among a wide variety of different series, while simultaneously upholding the age demographic that they publish to. So, when new series roll through that center around or focus heavily on darker themes than what Jump is actually used to, an artificial spotlight starts to form over that said series. Comparisons between the new and pre-existing series start to roll in, pretty much pulling at those dark themes rather directly and showcasing them to the world in both good and bad ways. This very thing happened to Chainsaw Man when it first released, but instead of negative critiques flowing in, it had a rather overwhelming force of positive acknowledgement, something that was wholeheartedly welcomed, something that was appreciated and supported even till today. Chainsaw Man was released at the end of 2018, amidst an extremely strong variety of competition. Series like My Hero Academia and The Promised Neverland were thriving and selling like crazy. Newer series were also starting to make a name for themselves, like Jujutsu Kaisen and Act Age. But even with all these interesting series ready to be consumed by the general public, something ticked with Chainsaw Man. It brought something to Weekly Shonen Jump's table that had been missing for quite some time. Absurdity, insanity, something completely over the top but not loosely thrown around. Something that handles that said absurdity and over the top nature with finesse and with care. This would slowly start to become the common connection for Chainsaw Man. That's if you wanted to read a series that was wild and free and push those set boundaries to the limits, where you'd ask yourself if the series was meant to be a seinen instead. It didn't come without its fair share of odd reactions and surface level judgment, and to be honest, it probably would be a little bit odd if you didn't question the title Chainsaw Man, or even the design of the main character. Literal chainsaws coming out of the hands and head, yeah, that's perfectly normal. Mixed with the naming scheme of a R-rated parody superhero. So yeah, on the surface, Chainsaw Man looks a little goofy, looks a little out of place, but underneath that surface level judgment is a goldmine of gripping and gritty artwork, over-the-top abilities and visceral fights, all swirled together with what it means to be human, with an overtone of absurdity. So with all of that said, let's have a look at what makes Chainsaw Man so enjoyable, and what makes it tick. Straight away, we're thrown into quite a hefty amount of emotional bonding with our two main characters. That's right, two of them. I think it's important to mention that Denji, our human main character, and Pochita, our little chainsaw demon, both physically and emotionally build off one another. To put simply, you can't have one without the other, and the author makes sure that that's something you don't forget, emotionally connecting us with both characters and their ongoing struggles. Denji is a young boy who works for the Yakuza, trying to pay off an immense debt that his parents left behind, from odd jobs to demon hunting. Now, demons within the world are common and even acknowledged by the general public to a certain degree, as funneled fear towards certain demons allows them to grow stronger and flourish into something more dangerous, even to the point where humans can create contract with these devils at a certain price. This price can range from a finger to a full limb to the lives of many people. The pricier the trade, the higher the power gained will be. Because of the fears surrounding them, having a devil as a pet, or a friend even, is something unusual. But Denji finds himself at a young age befriending an injured Pochita, who allows Pochita to drink his blood to be able to heal himself. This would come at the price of entering in a contract with Denji, and helping him clear off his debt towards the Yakuza, and thus the ultimate devil hunting duo was born. Over time, the Yakuza found Denji's usefulness was no longer needed, and decided to kill him alongside Pochita after their newly formed contract with the devil. Both Denji and Pochita were ruthlessly killed, chopped up into pieces and thrown into the trash, and the author does not shy away with how disturbing this may be. Mind you, this is still chapter 1. However, the blood of Denji manages to drop onto Pochita, and with a final push and self-sacrifice, Pochita regenerates himself with Denji, acting as his heart and ultimately being fused together. With this, the Chainsaw Man known as Denji is born. Now all of this wouldn't be possible without the everyday struggle and bonding both Denji and Pochita go through. It's extremely hard hitting to see how desperate they are for common goods such as food and water, but they find comfort in one another, sharing what little food they do have and always looking forward to a better day. Denji's outlook on life is both grim and heart-wrenching, all while simultaneously being thankful for Pochita's companionship. If anything, without Pochita being there for him, Denji didn't really have anything else to live for. He had nothing to fight for, nothing to cherish. So when they fuse together, a massive part of Denji actually disappears. His humanity becomes extremely shallow, almost non-existent, but his love towards his best friend remains. Hell, it's even reinforced as Denji finds out the reason he's alive and now has quite incredible abilities is because of Pochita's sacrifice. With this knowledge, Denji declares to Pochita that he will live a new life with the second chance he has been given, so they both can experience new and exciting things. Before long, they are thrown into a much bigger and darker world than they could ever expect, but with a completely new mindset, accompanied by a couple of simple self-goals: to eat good food, the enjoyable comfort of everyday living, and to feel some rest. As trivial and simplistic as these goals may seem, they play a vital role in uplifting Denji and playing on his motivation and base instinct. He came from literally nothing, not knowing the everyday normality that comes with living, so cherishing and pursuing what seems to be simple goals are entirely life-changing for him. They are new experiences to him. All of this sets the groundwork for what's to come. The emotional connection to both Denji and Pochita as characters and how they value such simple goals from our own perspective, yet for them are life-changing experiences. Seeing how their new transformed relationship thrives in a bigger, darker and more dangerous but rewarding type of world. The floodgates would now be opened. The absurdity would start to flow in, and Denji is at the helm of it all. It doesn't take long for Chainsaw Man to kick up into another gear, showcasing grittier and more gruesome artwork, selfish and eerily deceptive characters with the trickled introduction of extremely dangerous devils. The author manages to balance all of this with the characters' everyday lifestyle, their appreciation for the little things, and their wants and desires. These desires, like I mentioned before, funny enough, are extremely simplistic. Denji first being motivated by food, then compelled to take on certain devils with the want to feel some breasts. It's extremely lighthearted and self-centered, but works insanely well to not only make those darker moments more impactful and shocking, but also allows you downtime to breathe and reset yourself for that next beat. The absurd and insane moments come in extremely quickly, something that you won't even realize and may have to double take the moment to actually comprehend what happened. One moment it's a peaceful everyday life, next it's devils ripping people in half and swords coming out of their heads. What's rather impressive to me is how these darker moments are planned out and throughout get progressively more dangerous, scarier, and even obnoxious. When you think something is as absurd as it gets, Chainsaw Man proves you wrong. Then it doubles down on it again and completely takes you from left field. Whether it be with the sheer gruesome and bloody fights, the eerie characters contracted with devils, or even the appearances of the devils themselves. Even with this very meticulous range of constant elevation of events and sequences, the author makes sure to bring you back to either Denji's humanity or the slight comedic relief that his simple personality holds. His reaction towards characters and situations within these high-strung intense moments manages to break the severity of the situation that leads into a very impactful jump into absurdity. Almost like the author is playing a cat and mouse game with the reader's emotions and expectations, staying one step ahead always, while detouring your direction. The value of this cat and mouse game is vital to not only Chainsaw Man's continued success over its 60+ chapters, but also contributes to the aura that it oozes out, allowing the series to stand out profusely from all of its competition, on not only the surface through its captivating and gritty art, but also its method of storytelling and its approach to balancing its tonal differences. To be entirely honest, when I first seen this series drop within the midst of a lot of newer series gaining quick popularity, I initially thought it wouldn't be long before it got cancelled. It seemed to be somewhat of the norm for series like this to not get the marketing behind it before it eventually faded into obscurity. But luckily for us, Chainsaw Man hung on for its life, and I feel the prior experience the author gained from their previous work, known as Fire Punch, helped tremendously for paving a successful path for their new work. Over the year and a bit Chainsaw Man has been published, a lot more people have been getting on board with it, giving it a fair chance, even if they were originally turned off from it, coming back to see where the story has gone and being surprised with how far it's truly pushed itself within its own artwork, its storytelling, its atmosphere. It has surpassed a lot of people's expectations for a style of series within Weekly Shonen Jump, and only continues to grow larger by the day. Even with the little marketing it has, the sales can thankfully back it up, and the future for Chainsaw Man is honestly looking brighter than ever. Who knows, maybe with a little more time, a Chainsaw Man anime could come into the picture. I wouldn't be shocked at all. If anything, I'd be happy to see it. I think it would do extremely well. To close this out, I want to say this. If you don't know about Chainsaw Man, or maybe you didn't give it a fair chance at the beginning, I highly advise that you give it another go. I don't think you'll be disappointed with what it has to offer. The overall experience is enjoyable, and the absurdity is refreshing and extremely over the top in pretty much every corner. It's something that doesn't take itself too seriously, but when it needs to, it'll catch you off guard and most likely surprise you. So with that being said, that is basically it. I want to thank you all for watching, and I do want to apologize for the lengthy amount of time since I uploaded. I'm hoping I can do this video justice with the amount of time I'm trying to put into it. I feel only time will tell with how I actually go about editing it, and hopefully that translates over to you as well. If you have read Chainsaw Man, or if you plan on checking it out, let me know what you think about it. Your initial thoughts, your overall thoughts for the 60+ chapters, or even wherever you are within the story. I'd really love to know what you think. With that being said, I want to thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.